Unspool is a team of Los Angeles-based entertainment professionals. Each month, the Unspool team creates an entirely unique movie project from start to finish. The movie idea is born during our podcast at the start of each month with our special guests. Once the movie is released online, it is discussed on our wrap-up podcast at the end of the month. Unspool Podcast is available in both audio and video versions. Both can be found at our website, unspool.net. Videocasts can also be found at youtube.com/unspoolpodcast. This is the January 2015 pitch with journalist Daniel Taub.
Welcome to January's Unspool podcast. We have myself and John French here with our lovely guest, Daniel Taub. You might be wondering what show he might be from, what sitcom he might be on. He's actually a journalist, and the reason why we're having him on is because he is our biggest fan, and I know he's got some thoughts about our podcast.
Take that, Dan King.
And he's got he's listened to every episode, every movie, and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
And maybe we could just dive right into, you're a journalist, writer.
I'm once a reporter, and now I'm an editor, and unlike you two, I'm from Los Angeles. I was born here and grew up here. And thus, like a lot of people from Los Angeles who had no connection to the entertainment business, I did not go into the entertainment business because I had no interest. I have appreciation for movies and TV, but there was no allure. For me, growing up in LA, you see filming all the time. You might see somebody in a supermarket or a restaurant, like a celebrity or whatever. But it just was like the industry in town. It was like aerospace or auto manufacturing or something. It was nothing special. So I didn't go that direction. I went in journalism, and I went to school here in LA and worked for several small newspapers in Los Angeles, and then for the last 15 years I worked for a financial news service. I've never really covered entertainment either, although that being said, just because I'm in LA, I've ended up interviewing and covering entertainment stuff over the years. So just drop a bunch of names.
Name drop,
yeah. So I've interviewed, Dennis Hopper when he was alive, Aaron Spelling when he was alive, Yoko Ono once, Dwight Yoakam, Jeffrey Katzenberg, Michael Douglas. And then, a couple years back, through a weird connection, I ended up helping out on Billy Bob Thornton's book that he published a few years back, which I don't think anybody read.
How did that come about?
It's kind of a long story, but I'd written about a guy named Kinky Friedman, who was a 70s satirical country singer, and then he became a mystery novelist, and he ran for governor of Texas a few times. And he and Billy Bob Thornton are friends, and they ended up writing a book together. But because I'd already kind of known Kinky a little bit, he asked me to help out, and I ended up kind of helping with the interviews on the book, and then I wrote a very small section of the book that actually got sandwiched in between Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton in the book, which is...
That's an awkward sandwich.
Less fun in the book than it might be in person it might be pretty awkward too. But
I have a bunch of questions. You just sped through your whole life there.
Yeah.
But first of all, I'm jealous that you grew up here because I think John and I, we always wanted to achieve, I always thought of Hollywood.
The end goal was Hollywood.
And the glitz and the glamour, and I every time there are people that are like, oh, I grew up here, and so and so is my neighbor, or I have a friend who his street was used as the street from Wonder Years, and his house was the Winnie Cooper house, and I'm shooting exteriors, and he just grew up having that shot in his, it was everything every day. And so I'm always amazed by that. But anyway,
it is always interesting.
I do have a couple thoughts on that. So one thing is, when you're here, when you grow up here, it isn't as big of a deal. You see streets show up, your street will show up on movies or a TV show. And it's not that it's big of a deal. E.T., I know pretty much where they're shot. It's not far from where I grew up. I'll give you a great example. When I was a teenager, literally walking distance from my mom's house, they were filming, and I don't know why we knew this, but a couple days beforehand we knew they were going to film the scene. they were going to film the scene in Terminator 2 where the semi crashes through the barrier and goes into the LA River, that chase scene or whatever. And we knew they were filming it, and I think it was like a Saturday or Sunday, or it was a day, maybe it was during the summer. So I could have just walked over there and watched them film it. And I don't know, I just got busy that day. And it was like, because you know how it is.
Like, I would have planned my entire summer around that.
Right,
yeah,
but the
James
thing
Cameron's hanging out.
Like, blowing up trucks.
Yeah.
But when you grow up around, how a film set is. It's going to be like, you're going to be waiting around all freaking day until this thing happens. So it's like, do I really want to deal with that? It's like, so no, I didn't. I mean, when the movie came out, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the street. And great, it was fine. But, it just isn't. It's an industry, and you are aware of the people are people, and it's just not. It's glamorous somewhat, but it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You see it all the time.
Well, even as we've been out here.
Now you've been in the business long enough that you get it too.
A little bit,
but that's not what brought you out here. What brought you out here was you thought of it as this like this is Hollywood, right?
This is where it's all done. Right. This is where you got.
Yeah, I'm sure he and I have both passed on shoots working in post that are like, oh, we're going to shoot this thing this weekend for your show, and I'm like, I'm not going to show up to that. That's work.
Right.
But if it's our stuff, then whatever.
One of my early experiences in LA, I think I had been out here a month, and one night they were shooting down on the corner of Ventura and Van Nuys. They were shooting at the Fatburger, and there was like a whole bunch of grip trucks, a whole bunch of lights. There's like a 50s car. Like, they're obviously doing some car process shot, and I was like, this is amazing. I was so excited. I ran down there. I had like my gear bag, and I was like, maybe they'll need an extra hand. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And some like super jaded, grizzled production guy was like, no, there's some fucking piece of crap short, fuck it, I don't know. And I was like, no, it's cool, what is it? And he's like, I don't know. And he was so over it. He didn't want to be there. And I'm like, you guys, there's a car process shot. What are you doing? And he didn't care at all. So.
Right. I mean, look, it's still, you see a celebrity at a restaurant or something, it's still like,
you must
kind
still
of
get
excited.
Yeah.
Or it's at least fun. You could tell people the next day, oh, I saw Kirsten Dunst at this restaurant, whatever. But it isn't.
You don't have that because you grew up here. The people you know are from here. So when you talk to people, it's the same. Oh yeah, it's just another LA type of thing. But like we have friends and family back home. And like, do you ever see famous people? Do you ever see the movie get shot? And everyone's always interested. But here again, it's probably
it's still. Like in our office, we just for the fun of it, we keep a celebrity sighting list. So we everybody has to put like what celebrity saw, where they saw them, what date, and who the person who saw them was. But we have very, very strict rules because, a bunch of us cover the entertainment industry, or you're at, events, you go to a movie premiere or something. It has to be, you have to see them in the wild. You can't see them. It has to be just random. So if you see, years ago when there was still Borders books, I saw Nicolas Cage at Borders. So that counted because I didn't know I was going to see him there.
He reads.
But I don't know, he was shopping at Borders, I don't know. But
he didn't know he was in a Border.
But if you interview somebody, that doesn't count, I did actually get a judgment call because one night when I was helping on this Billy Bob Thornton thing, while we were there, Billy Gibbons, the guitarist from ZZ Top, showed up. And at the house, at Billy Bob's house, and it's like, does that count? I didn't know he was going to see him there.
Yeah, it's like it's a bonus, right?
It's a bonus one. It's borderline. It's marginal.
So you were at Billy Bob's house. Most of the other interviews, are they junkets? Are the interviews like how much personal time do you get interviewing?
Especially because I'm not an entertainment reporter, and these things have been kind of one-off things. It's been everything from. I was at the Jay Leno Tonight Show the night that Schwarzenegger announced he was running for governor, and that was just because I was helping cover the governor's race.
So did you know ahead of time, and that's why you were there?
Yeah, it was a known thing that Schwarzenegger nobody knew if he was going to run or not, but he was going to be on, and he might announce. Okay. So that's why we were there. So that was, I talked to Schwarzenegger for 2 seconds as he walked by to all the reporters. Mel Brooks, I was doing a magazine story that Mel Brooks had partnered with the guy we were writing about. This guy was a real estate developer and investor, and he the guy who for a while owned American Idol, the brand, and Mel Brooks partnered with him on a Broadway show. So I interviewed Mel Brooks, and I ended up talking to him for an hour on the phone. Didn't meet him in person, but an hour with Mel Brooks on the phone is pretty good, you know?
Yeah. Now more than most people get with Mel Brooks.
Dennis Hopper, he was at a photo exhibit, and he was also a photographer, and I wandered around the photo exhibit with him for 20 minutes. I got enough material, and you kind of just spend enough time to get what you need. Mm-hmm. So you're not really, it's not like you're buddies with these people. You're not. I mean, you're doing reporting. So if you need just
when you say like get what you need, like you just need like a couple just flourishes or phrasing or just to put a touch.
Yeah, you need a handful of facts, or you need a couple quotes. If it's a longer story, if it's like more of a profile, you need more. If it's just like, I mean, Mel Brooks, even though I spent an hour on the phone with him, which wasn't necessary, I mean, he was like 2 quotes in the story, so I could have gotten that in 5 minutes if it was very focused. If he was focused, I was focused, and all that. But, I'm not turning down an hour on the phone with Mel Brooks.
Right. And they're all pretty civil?
It varies wildly. Okay. I mean, I was surprised that Yoko Ono was totally friendly and easy to talk to. It was on the phone, and she was in Paris, I believe, at the time I was talking to her, but it was a bad connection, and she was still totally cool.
That was just her singing. You just thought it was a bad connection.
Let you say it, not me. I thought she was very friendly. Priscilla Presley was totally cool. I'd say the one who was the most difficult interview, and I don't think this will be any surprise if anybody who knows anything about her, was probably Sharon Osbourne.
She was
a difficult interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, she seems so pleasant.
Really?
That's not or fun and open, I guess, is how she seems.
Yeah, it's a hard interview. It was on the phone too. Dennis Hopper was totally cool. I mean, he was very low key, very pleasant. Anyway, so yeah, look, they're human beings. I mean, this was an interview, but George Clooney I chatted with once in an event for a few minutes, and he's like, totally normal guy, nice guy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can't judge somebody after.
He's beautiful.
He is quite beautiful. I was quite taken with him.
How did you ever decide you want to do this? How did you ever decide, like, I want to go into journalism, or I want to write things? And was journalism your end goal? Did you want to write books? I mean, you want to write the Great American Novel? Like, what
I think everybody who goes into journalism sort of like hopes to write that book eventually, or many books, or become that magazine writer who gets to work on a story for 6 months. Most of us don't get there. I don't know if I ever will. I probably not. But when you're in college, I was in college. I was already pretty. I was always a news reader. I mean, I read, growing up here, I read the LA Times, New York Times. I get my hands on it.
Did you go
in the
to
pre-internet age?
College for writing?
Yeah, well, I think I went in with no major, and then while I was in college, I picked journalism, and it was like, I knew I wanted to write, and I knew I needed a job after college, and journalism seemed like, at the time, the thing to do, where yes, you can write, and yes, there's a career in it. And it's more challenging these days, but again, I was in college when the internet was sort of starting to catch on, but when I went into college, there was, every paper was in print. You didn't go online to read a newspaper.
So nice transitioning. What is the outlook then, because of the rise of the internet and digital everything, websites, everything's iPads on,
and it seems to be all like copied and pasted. Like, a lot of websites would just paste something else that somebody else wrote. It's like very weird, difficult news.
I mean, look, there's no question. I mean, print as a medium is, read on paper is on its way out. I don't think there's any question about that. People can get their news electronically. That's fine. I mean, there's no difference. I mean, you read print, you read on a screen, you read on, and you can incorporate, more photos and graphics and video and all that. It's all fine.
Yeah, I guess, like, especially for news and things where you want to see the visual, the picture,
right. And matching up video with, and taking video and putting it online and matching up with the print. I mean, it's all great. I have no issue with that. The question is, what's the business model? And if anybody had come up with it, we all know what it is by now. I mean, there is no business model for doing that. Everybody's trying to figure it out. And a lot of the most successful enterprises have put up paywalls. Like the Wall Street Journal never really made their news product available for free. They kind of always kept a paywall.
You read the article and you get halfway down the page and you got to pay $3 to keep reading or whatever it is.
They were still in business. Rupert Murdoch is still making money off of it. Other New York Times has gone back and forth between being free and being pay. Everybody's struggling, and it's very unclear what the business model is, which is why, people in the business, even if you want to keep doing it, you love it, it's hard to know what the future is. So, I teach a journalism class at USC, and I don't know what to tell my students. Look, I didn't pick my students' major. They picked journalism, and I'm trying to teach them to be the best.
The first day, you don't say, get out, it's a dying medium.
It's not my problem. It's their choice. They chose it. If they come to me and say, do you think I'm going to have a great career? My answer is I have no idea. It's going to be hard. I don't know what the outlook is. Look, but the demand for news is still insatiable, especially entertainment news. Again, it's not a big part of what I do, but entertainment news, people love it. People want it. People want all news. They want to know what's going on. They want to know what's going on in the world. People probably read more news in more ways, in more places, on more devices than ever, but they don't want to pay for it. Nobody wants to pay for it. So I don't know how that works. That doesn't bode well for people who want to make a profession of journalism, but yeah.
I want you to ask, see if you can answer this sad question. How many print places have you worked that have folded behind you?
Oddly enough, every place I've worked is still an ongoing enterprise, which is funny because when I was in college, I worked at a bunch of retail stores, and they were all gone. Every retail store I worked at, I killed them all. But part of that, one was a bookstore and one was a record store, so we don't have many of those in LA anymore, or anywhere anymore. But all the newspapers I worked at still publish. Whether they'll still be going in 2 years or 3 years, I don't know.
Is it that quick? Could something just fold tomorrow?
I had a friend who worked for Rocky Mountain News in Denver. That paper's gone. There are a lot of paper. So a lot of the cities that had 2 newspapers and were struggling to have 2. A lot of them just have 1. And you hope that major cities won't lose any news. Won't have no newspapers. But everybody's struggling. Everybody's nobody's got the right idea yet of how to make this work as an enterprise, business enterprise going forward.
I have a friend who he surfs the internet and he looks at a lot of news on the internet, but he refuses to read articles when there's a video above it.
I do that.
They always post a video.
Yes, it's the worst.
It's the worst because I'm like, why? I don't want to wait for a video to buffer.
Because then you got to watch an ad ahead of it.
Let me just read the article.
Because the article's going to take 10 seconds to read or whatever.
Yeah, and sometimes they're just we're going to forget the words and just post a video. I'm like, I don't want to see a crappy video of some 19-year-old girl in front of a.
I'll watch that.
Okay. But I just, it drives me nuts sometimes. That's my little pet peeve of the night, that you have this news story, but yet they have to make a video about it, and they have to stick somebody in front of the little newscast screen, and people will prefer to watch that on the internet than just words.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everybody's just putting everything out there they can think of to do because they're hoping the video will be picked up by this site and the print will be picked up here and this will be tweeted and that will be Facebooked, and everybody's just trying to get everything they can do in every way possible, and it's just unclear. Everybody wants buzz and they want to be retweeted and passed along and all the social media pickups, and it's just unclear what
we want. That we want to be retweeted.
Yeah, how
right? But I don't know. But you guys aren't doing it as far as I know as a business, at least so far.
Well,
you're doing it because you are passionate about it.
We are.
But so, what's your plan for monetizing what you're doing?
We're gonna check out this story we wrote and then have a video.
We're gonna do silkscreen T-shirts of anybody who wants to.
And
if you
snow
want.
globes.
Yes, if you want Daniel Taub, and you pay us a couple dollars, we'll put Daniel Taub on our shirts and advertise you now.
So everybody's just trying. Yeah, that's the model, right? Is everybody's just trying to cross promote every place else? But at some point, where do you get paid? How do you? So,
how does social media help? When people tweet a link to something you've written or Facebook, does that help because it gets more eyes on it?
I think it's very unclear because unless it's, where I work, and I know, a lot of places you don't get money for clicks, right? And I guess that's kind of, I don't know, maybe Huffington Post does that or something. I don't know who does that, but mostly people just do it to promote themselves, and I guess my question is, my question is, of course, everyone wants to be read. You don't want to write something or do a video or whatever and not have it seen or not have it read.
Yes,
but
that's the worst.
Sure, yeah, right. So you want it seen, and of course, the more people who see it, the happier you are. But if you're talking a business enterprise, at what point does that turn into money? I'm not an expert in this. I mean, I don't run a news operation. I'm just an editor, but I don't know how that becomes money at some point. Somebody has some idea, hopefully, or will, but so far it's been very unclear. It's just messy out there. And that'd be true for you guys too. I mean, I don't know how, what you're doing is great. I enjoy it, and I think that people get an education in the film business from what you do. But if you hope to turn it into a business, I don't know. I can't give you any advice on that. I think you guys are doing something which nobody else is doing, which is great. There's so many podcasts and other websites and everything. They're just film fans. People want to talk about how much they love the Star Wars movies or whatever. The world does not need more of those, as far as I'm concerned, right? We don't need more film fans talking about how much they love film. What I like is I think you guys fill a niche that wasn't around before, which is just guys actually in the business doing the job, talking about doing it, but in a very casual way. Like you're just talking to your peers or aspiring peers who might listen to you and like, oh, these are real guys who, you have a guest who works on The Simpsons. I've been watching The Simpsons as a kid. How does that work? Like, how is The Simpsons? But this guy's not teaching me how The Simpsons put together. He's just talking about working on The Simpsons,
Yeah.
I like that you're just laying me into your world without A, over-explaining, B, trying to teach me. It's... You just do it. You're talking about, it's shop talk. You're doing shop talk in a way, and because so much of the world is interested in the entertainment industry, it's shop talk about an industry that people care about. If you were doing this about, I don't know, rotary cutting blades or something, probably nobody would care. But you're talking about
the rotary cutting blade industry of Ohio or
three people or whatever. But the point is, I mean, this is shop talk about something that everybody cares about.
It's almost like they're describing about news going and how do they make money. It's like podcasts are new, and how do you make money from a podcast, or how do you make money from...
But don't worry about that. I mean, I guess my suggestion would be don't worry about the podcast making money. The podcast can be your fun way of, talking about the business and exploring what you do.
Sure.
But then, at some point you make... Because
nice.
Films still make money. I mean, that's the thing is that podcasts, we don't know if they'll ever make money or, maybe they do for Mark Maron or, but few people make money on podcasts. Most people just do it for fun. But films and TV still do make money. So use this as your way to go further in the business.
It would be cool if, through this, we made some cool movie some month and someone saw that and like, oh, who's really good at doing Pixel Vision movies that we need to do? David Fincher's like, I need the Pixel Vision experts. And
if we had a Pixel Vision to use...
We'll get it fixed.
You need to produce I need those guys from Unspool.
Yeah, I need, who...
And then later on say...
we'll never not call us Unspool guys again.
They say, we need Unspool type. Not the Unspool guys, we need Unspool type. That's when you made it, right? Is when you need Unspool type.
Let's talk about unspooling. And did you come bearing a gift of ideas?
Well, so going back to our whole Los Angeles discussion earlier, I'm a huge fan. One thing I love in movies and TV shows is I do love the geography of Los Angeles, right? So I like watching movies or TV shows that do use locations well and recognizing place and how, do they portray the place that they're actually using as the place that it is, and how well do they get the geography of Los Angeles. So one of my favorite shows of all time is The Rockford Files. I thought The Rockford Files, among its other charms, for people who are younger than me, which is a lot of people, it was a detective show from the 70s that took place in Los Angeles. And it got the geography of LA pretty down. Like if you had to drive, much of LA is such a horizontal city. Mm-hmm. You have to go from one place to another. It takes time, and it's a big city, right? And it got that distance down well. So I thought of a challenge for you guys. So do you guys know the movie The Five Obstructions? Do you know the documentary?
I've heard of it.
So Lars von Trier.
I've seen this. That's probably why I avoided it.
Lars von Trier. Well, it's not.
Seen this.
It's a documentary. It's not a. But he's a filmmaker. Lars von Trier is a Danish filmmaker, and there's a Jürgen Leth, I think his name was an older director that he admired, and the documentary is him challenging Leth to remake one of his short films. Yeah. Like 5 different ways, and he keeps giving him new challenges, like new obstructions, new obstacles. Like you have to make the movie, like the first one is you have to make it in Cuba, and you can't ever show Cuba. It has to be filmed in Cuba, and you can't ever show the country. So like, stuff like that. So I was thinking for you guys, because you're in Los Angeles, I'm a huge Los Angeles fan. I love watching LA on film. It's an idea. Your film should be, I feel like I'm trying to channel Lars von Trier and give you guys a punishment. Like, here's what you have to do, and if you do this, you'll succeed.
I feel like a lot of punishment guests
through Lars von Trier.
No, from a lot of guests. Like,
I can't do a Danish accent, but so your film should should aspire to capture the geography and feel of Los Angeles, but without using any of the tropes that are always used by people who shoot Los Angeles.
Example:
you cannot use the Hollywood sign. Can't use the downtown skyline. You can't use the beach. Can't use freeways. You can't use Beverly Hills Rodeo Drive. The
like signage.
Signage. Can't use signage.
Palm trees are cool.
That's a good point. I think palm trees also you might want to avoid. So that's the question: is can you do? Because LA has been filmed so much, right? Like everybody's seen LA on film millions of times. Can you capture LA in a way that doesn't use any of the tropes of LA? I don't care what the plot is or the characters and that, but does that sound too hard?
No, I think that's a really good challenge.
Like everything you've ever seen, to give you a quick idea that you're in LA, don't use any of those. So, like, okay, here's an example. There's a movie that was from, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. Not a good film. I mean, nothing I recommend as a film. It's a movie called Crazy Beautiful. Remember that movie? It was with like Kirsten Dunst and
some dude.
Some guy.
I saw this film.
Look, it's just like a teen romance film. It's not. There's no reason to talk about it as a film. But what it did do was, I think she was supposed to live in the Palisades or Palos Verdes, somewhere like that, and he was supposed to live in East LA or something like that. And it did a great job of capturing how hard it is for teenagers to get back and forth between those two locations. They're trying to see each other, trying to date, and he's he has no car, and he's trying to get from East LA to the Palisades or wherever. And it's like LA well enough to know that distance, and getting there without a car. I mean, it's horrible, and it did it well. I mean, that was the one thing. I mean, for the movie's strengths and weaknesses, it really did that distance well. I'm not saying do that. I mean, it's already been done, but.
So we're supposed to clue you in that we're filming in LA, like, oh, that's LA, but not.
You want to capture the geography and feel of Los Angeles, like what Los Angeles is like as a location, but without using the tropes that everybody uses.
That's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
That's a good one, though.
It is.
It's an idea.
You know what? I was thinking of.
We can't just film like the 405 freeway at rush hour.
I said no
for 15 minutes.
No freeways. Yeah.
I'm falling down moment there.
No freeways, no Hollywood sign, no beach, no.
I think falling down would be like that movie with.
That's got a lot of that.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
It's just all like, and he ends up at
Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah. 24 was always that for me, and how he used to get anywhere within like a commercial break or like 5 minutes. He's like, I'll be right there, and then like
where in reality it would have been the whole episode because it's an hour.
Right. Yeah, he's like, I'm in Beverly Hills, but I'll get to North Hollywood to save you in 5 minutes. He's like, I need to get to I need to get to LAX. I need to get there in like another 10 minutes.
He was Jack Bauer.
He was Jack Bauer, and the episode would drag on forever. It would take the whole 24 hours just to like drive around. But I remember like when I finally moved here, and they were on season like 3 or 4. There was an episode where like he landed a plane on the freeway, and I was working nights, I think, like overnights, and I was like, I have never seen the freeways not completely packed. Like, how is he landing a plane on an empty freeway on the LA freeways? So it always amazed me. Like he's like, I think in the very first episode, she's like, the daughter's like, I am trapped in North Hollywood, and he's like, oh, it's dangerous there. He's like, I'll be there in just a minute. You stay put. And I was like,
and you moved to North Hollywood.
And then I moved to North Hollywood, but
and that's why I love the Rockford Files, because James Garner's character, Jim Rockford, lives in a trailer on a beach in Malibu, and you guys know full well if you live in Malibu, it takes you forever to get everywhere, anywhere. So he never gets anywhere quickly. It's always like a trek to get to wherever he's going. It's kind of a ridiculous idea to have somebody who needs to get around live in Malibu, but sure enough, that's how it's done in the show. So, yeah, I mean, it's rare because LA. Well, first of all, we stand in for so many other places, but even if they're using LA as LA, they don't care.
Like a lot of sitcoms, like Modern Family, and like I think they all take place like it's sort of like a generic. I don't know if that is LA.
Yeah, I think they make
the Big Bang Theory is like sort of generic-y Pasadena, but
they work at Caltech or something.
Yeah, and it's like there's just generic.
Well, they try to shoot it sort of middle America feel vibe to it. Yeah, but
even when a show clearly is supposed to be LA, they rarely try to get a geography down right. So
do you want the geography act? Like,
I'm not trying to like make it. I'm not trying to direct you too much. You guys, the creative ones. I'm just trying to give you like, hey, try to make science clearly LA captures what LA is to some degree, either the geography or the feel of it, but just don't use any of the tropes everybody uses. That quick flash of the Welcome to Bel Air and the downtown skyline, the palm tree, and the beach. Don't
use established shots. Like
don't use the tropes.
Like use like The Wire. We should just be thrown in and then learn. Like we obviously have to be in LA.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's So I know that's the challenge. Is like
like it.
Yeah.
Can you make an LA movie without using the LA cliches?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
We'll have that done by April or May.
Yeah.
Based on our current delivery
November,
schedule.
December.
Yeah. Talking about
if for this month you need to make your own title card.
Well, since I'm not a filmmaker, how do I do that?
I don't know. You have an iPhone? You got a phone?
Yeah, if only I had any visual skills, talent, but I can do something. I'll figure it out.
It should be easy.
I don't need a pixel vision to do this.
It's a sore spot for Scott. Get it fixed.
Young John French, I'm so mad at you, Young John French.
I took good care of it. It worked when I moved out to LA. It just sat on a shelf for too long. Oh boy.
All right. Shall we?
Shall we?
Oh.
All right.
Cheers.
Cool.
Cheers.
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 Good stuff.
Unspool Podcast is available in both audio and video versions. Both can be found at our website, unspool.net. Videocasts can also be found at youtube.com/unspoolpodcast. Find us online, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google+, YouTube at Unspool Podcast. And watch our completed movies at unspool.net or vimeo.com/unspool. Email podcast@unspool.net. Unspool is produced by John French and Scott Zarzicki and is a Frenchico Entertainment production.